Hey, it's Norm from Tested, and I'm here joined by Mike Senna, builder of robots, astromechs, Wallies, and now hopefully a BB-8.
Yep.
So in the previous video, we were down here with Mike, and we took apart a Sphero BB-8. I kind of tried to figure out how the mechanics of a small-scale BB-8 could work, and does that inform a larger-scale BB-8? Well, you've had some time to work on your BB-8, your full-size one now. So where are you at this point?
I am driving it right now. It drives fine. The head's on there. The head moves with it. It rolls real well.
It rolls. That's an accomplishment in itself. Yeah. But let's talk about the fabrication, because BB-8, unlike R2s, it's a simpler design. There are fewer physical elements, but it's still a complex shape.
Yeah.
So you have the head. What was your first attempt at the head like?
So I was going to build mine out of a sphere, and so this was what I was going to start with as the foundation. I was going to put a little bit of a lip on here to give it that proper shape. Mm-hmm. But as I was doing this and putting everything together and testing the mechanical parts of it, a BB-8 Builders Club emerged.
Up. That's right.
Tiny Panganaban and Michael Irwin really started this club. Tiny was working on these 3D files for 3D printers. Now the guy is so detailed that I looked at his stuff and I said, no, I can't do anything more than this.
And why duplicate that work, especially when they've opened up the files now for anyone to download?
Yeah, so Mike Irwin helped him out a bunch because Tiny didn't have a 3D printer. So sent the files to Michael Irwin. He printed them out, made sure they were fine, sent them out actually to other people so that they can test on different machines.
Awesome, of course. And
put out these files to the public.
Now you got an Ultimaker 2 for this project to build it up. We've tested the Ultimaker 2 before. The print bed's big, but not big enough to print a full-size BB-8 head. So obviously, it's going to come in pieces. How many pieces is this build?
Yeah, correct. So the top of this dome, you see this part is a third of the dome. So the dome comes in a third. The top gray piece here comes in 2 pieces. And then there's the separate other pieces also, the bottom. And look at the detail they put in there.
Is that something speculated by Tiny and Mike in terms of the relief and design, or does that derive to some of the original models?
They studied this thing pretty well, and surprisingly, I, as an afterthought, I went back to look at the detail for painting and things like that, and the detail is pretty accurate.
Pretty good. I mean, the model that they brought up has been a few places, Celebration, D23, people have been able to get up close to that moving model and take a look at exactly what those details are. But this blows my mind because this is a 3D printed piece, but it doesn't look like it from up close. What was your finishing technique like?
Instead of going and sanding all the plastic down, I went ahead and shot it with 3 coats of primer and then sanded it down. And that really, the primer just goes into the little crevices and smooths it out really nice. 3 coats.
That saves you the need to do Bondo, to putty it all over. And it's smooth. This is fantastic. So you got the head. It looks great. 3 pieces to make the shell, top piece and a bottom piece, these detail pieces, and it all comes together, even the antenna.
And this antenna here, the middle piece here is a piece of metal, and you can print out the top and the bottom pieces.
Nice.
And smooth them out.
But then, of course, in addition to the head, there's also the body, the big sphere. Now, what was your approach to that?
This is a blow-molded polycarbonate sphere. The blow-molded one shrank just a little bit, and what I found out was a vacuum formed 20-inch hemisphere would go right over this and fit snugly. So from the same company, cut out these pieces from 2 hemispheres, and they fit perfectly on top.
So is your final one going to have both the structural stability of that polycarb and then in addition an outer skin of the vacuum form that you can then finish and texture it and put all your details in?
Correct. Yeah, so those panels will probably just be glued on with silicone.
Okay. That gets you detail, that gets you structural stability. The head obviously goes on top. Is it going to be a similar mast system that we saw on the BB-8 Sphero to keep the head up with magnets? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, the mast has to be on the bottom with any of the drive systems that we've seen. Because it's a ball, the difficulty is is you're using gravity mainly to move this thing. So what you want is the sphere to be as smooth as possible. Even with the tiles, you don't want even a 1/16 of an inch difference because it'll get caught up on it.
Right.
And then once you get the momentum going, your ball is going to shoot out.
Yeah.
So that's important. The other important thing is to have a very, very light head, and the magnetic force between the two has to be strong enough to keep the head on, light enough not to create friction.
That's right. Are the mechanics in the head to spin it, to rotate it, or is that all in the mass as well?
In my build, I don't have any mechanics in the head at all.
Okay. Now, the BB-8 Sphero, we talked about it using electronic gyroscope, an IMU, data from accelerometers, not a physical gyro. Maybe that wasn't going to be good enough, responsive enough for a big, full-size BB-8, so you wanted to use a mechanical gyro.
Yeah, so I'm in the process of right now taking the wiggle or the wobble out of my BB-8, because you're going around a corner or something and it kind of the head tilts just a little, and then when it comes back around, it starts wobbling.
Yeah, it's weeble.
And the wobble is crazy. So what I'm going to try to do, and I haven't done it yet, is I've got this mechanical gyro, and it came with a motor, which I'm not sure if I'm going to use, but the motor will attach on, and it has little screw holes for it, so I can attach it. It works off of 6 volts, so when I turn it on, this thing starts spinning up. Now, I did put some mechanical gyros in there that I made out of hard drives, but my problem was I'm not used to working with gyros, so I really fixed it into the frame. So when I tried to move it, the gyro didn't perform any stability,
Right.
and I found out just when I got these that I need to make the gyro kind of free moving. So
it's spinning up, and when it spins up, that thing is rigid in space. Like, it's difficult to move it.
yeah.
Right.
So if I'm doing a motion now, it's rocking it this way. It is lifting up and going down again, but it's really resisting my motion of tilting this way and that way. Now if I held this still and then moved it, it's pretty easy to move. That's how my gyros are in there right now. And that's not the way I'm supposed to do it.
You want to hold it just by that one axis and let the rotational motion and force just provide all that energy.
Yeah, so my idea was to, I'll have a motor so it'll help it by gravity hold the thing so it's pointing in the direction that it's supposed to once it stops wobbling. And we'll see.
There's a lot of testing to be done, a lot of experimenting. Like I said, even though the shape of BB-8 looks simple, the mechanics are way more complicated than what you'd find in the previous astromechs that you, Michael McMaster, and other R2 builders have done before. BB8builders.club is that website. We're going to come back in a few months. There's still a little bit of time before the movie comes out, and check in on your full-size BB-8 project. Thanks so much, Mike. We'll see you guys in a second. And we're back. I'm back here with Mike Senna and Amy Senna. We're out of you guys' kitchen in your home and at Kamikaze, where a short month after we visited R2LA, BB-8 is complete.
Yeah, when you guys came over, there was just that white ball sitting in the kitchen.
That's right.
And now we have it fully weathered, fully painted up, and ready to. Version 1's been running around for a little while.
And way ahead of the release of the movie. You made it.
Yeah, well, we tried. It was a struggle, let me tell you.
And you guys both worked hard on this and getting it ready for this show. Now let's talk about the aesthetic parts of it first, because it looks beautiful. Like you said, we saw that white ball. It was a 3D printed head.
Right.
But I can't tell it's 3D printed. Tell me about like the weathering process and the painting process.
Yeah, this is the 3D printed head again from Tiny Pink Animan and Mike Irwin. So if you look at it, it's finished now. I don't necessarily want to use this as a finished piece because it's a printed, 3D printed thing. And usually you'll have it molded. So I think I'm going to be in the process of molding this. But yeah, right now the seams it's cut into 3 sections. And the seams, I think there was one here, is now pretty nicely hidden. So this particular head has popped off of this guy maybe about 15 times.
Wow.
And hasn't been damaged, no damage that is visible, you know?
Any bumps and scratches are just part of the story. The colors here, you have silver and orange and a little bit of a chrome color. Are they special colors, specialty colors?
Well, not really. This is like bright aluminum metallic from a Rust-Oleum product. It's like from Home Depot. This is like a real orange, it's called, Rust-Oleum also. The grays here on the eyes, I had to make them a little darker than what I could get. So it's, a thing I had to mix up personally.
So Mike, how about this band here? Is that just painted a chrome metal?
That band is trickery.
Oh yeah?
What we have here is actually aluminum tape. So we can get this duct taping from anywhere, right? Any home improvement store. So what I do is I take the thick strip, probably about this thick, right? I put it on a piece of wax paper and I lay that down on a board. So now I can peel the wax paper off, right? So I then take a piece of sandpaper and I score the whole thing. I go past it like maybe 5 to 10 times. Now that gives it the brushed look. So then I take a straight edge and put it there and cut it with a razor knife. And so now I have a custom piece of tape that looks like brushed aluminum, and I just tape it around the detail.
Wow.
So my wife Amy created these graphics for me for my dimensions, and we printed them out on the printer and applied the decals. So even these decals, these vents are decals.
Now on the ball, there are panels. It's not just one sphere. There's actually some depth and relief and texture to it. Talk about that painting process and getting the panels on.
Yeah, the aesthetics on the outside are always like so difficult to get because you want it to look exactly like the model. So there's several tools I used. I got this cutting tool, and this is actually two tools. This is a handle for this one. So I basically took the two pointy pieces off of this thing, and it's supposed to turn around like this in a circle.
Okay.
And it's supposed to cut out, with this little razor blade, cut out circles in patterns.
In different diameters.
In cloth, right? And then you can adjust it. So I took the point off of one of them, and if I turn it in this manner and put that back on, now what I have is something I can put on the middle of the panel and adjust it out and etch my lines in the panel. And when I scratch it and etch it, then I come back in with a thumbtack and make the line thicker. And then I go further with these jeweler's files and I kind of etch them out a little wider.
Oh, got it.
And then, so that's the process. It's kind of lengthy to measure and etch each one of these things out. And then I have an extra piece of this panel that's straight that I put over this to do the straight lines.
Right. So it's etching all the way around, you're patterning around there, you're masking it and painting it, those similar colors, that bright orange.
So then I use this shelf paper, it's just a clear shelf paper, and it's tacky enough that it's not permanent. And once it's etched and not painted, then I put this on, peel the backing and put it on. Now I can see through, and I take a razor blade and just cut along the etched lines, remove the pieces I want to remove and spray it.
Got it. And then weathering, fun part, just getting it dirty and then wiping it off?
Yeah, so I usually put the paints on a paper plate, spray a little water on there and take some napkins and kind of dab it. Do a first a light wash, and then you come by with a more heavier wash and heavier pieces. And then in between the cracks here, you need to kind of make the paint a little thicker and use a paintbrush and kind of dab it in there. You know, to get all these the deeper lines.
Yeah, the oil and grime. And it's beautiful aesthetically. And anyone out there with the 3D printer, with the files, joining the BB-8 Facebook group, can make their own, but to get it moving, that requires a little bit of engineering. We talked a little bit about that in the first half. You had those, the gyros you're going to experiment with. Without diving too much, because I know you can't show all of the process, what worked and what didn't?
Right now, I think my drive motors are pretty much underpowered. So I've got to do that. I've got to put it in the drive system. I believe I can make the head movement a little better where I'm going to have a counterweight inside so when the head moves forward, the whole body doesn't tip over. You have kind of issues with, again, the weeble wobbling and some weight up high on the model. Also, I'm going to try to, when we get this molded, to use lighter materials like foam and see if we can get that head lighter.
Those gyros ended up not working for you?
Yeah, we bought some gyros that were kind of smallish, and we tried to put them in there. I guess they're about this big. Bought 2 of them. I was thinking of even stacking them one on top of each other, but they kind of didn't make that much of a difference. So I think I'm going to go a little bit different route with all that.
Now, in your exploration of the making a BB-8 and working and chatting with other BB-8 builders, you're finding everyone's using a different method, your own way. What are the things that stand out mechanically?
Yeah, I think the ones they're using the ones where the whole drive system is actually riding inside of the ball and rolling with the wheels. With that, you've got several issues with making sure that the inside of the ball is smooth. You've got to worry about the wheel mechanics, and there's certain things that it can't do. Now, there's another model I saw. We all saw on the internet. There's a video of a little ball, BB-8 ball type of ball rolling around, and it had a lot of weights on the bottom, and that would spin. And when it spins, it gives it the ability to turn while it's driving. And that system is kind of in here in a different way. But I'm going to probably go in that direction and experiment with that to see how it works. I'm kind of gun shy to show anything inside because if it's not working properly and I don't like it, I don't want this system to just
get out there
out there.
Exactly. It's still a work in progress, but aesthetically it looks beautiful, and you have it up and running. There's so much personality here, and congratulations on finishing it for Kamikaze. Ahead of the movie release, we'll definitely be checking in with both you guys in the future to see how BB-8's doing and see what version 2 might look like.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks.
It's great to see you, Amy. Thank you.